So if you think about the life cycle of an advantage over time, it has a very characteristic shape, almost. So in the beginning, before there's anything at all, out there in the world, you have this sort of primordial soup of technologies and capabilities and geopolitics and all this stuff that's kind of out there. And entrepreneurially minded people, whether they're startup people or whether they're people in corporations, put together combinations of resources that they think may eventually lead to some kind of business. And there's this kind of wandering in the woods usually that takes place for quite a long time before you finally have something you think you can put in front of a customer that they may actually pay for. You then have a period of ramping that up, so you launch that business and you scale it, right? And then you have this delightful period of, I call it exploitation. And that's the period we love to teach about at the business school. We love to write textbooks about this. Things are good, right? Things are stable. We've got good growth. What happens next? Decline? Well, sometimes, not always, right? I mean, sometimes companies can figure out how to keep an advantage going. So this is the sort of thing that gives us protein-rich, all-natural, stevia-flavored diet cherry Coke. It's product line extensions or entries into new areas or whatever. And Coke has actually been brilliant at this. One of the things Coke's been doing the last 10 years or so is basically acquiring new capabilities by acquiring these sort of startup ventures that are ready to scale. And then they use Coke's mass and heft to scale them up. So they've been really good at extending their corporate advantages. But as you've already intuited, sometimes, we're going the way of all things, and you have a period of erosion. So a couple of points to make about this. Most managers today have not had personal experience with each of these life cycle stages. In fact, if you're working in an organization of any size and capability, you can actually have your entire career doing nothing but exploitation. You get rewarded for being an excellent operator, you optimize, you're efficient, you do things, and you can get to be a CEO and never have experienced either fast growth or fast decline. So I think that's a sort of a personal issue that a lot of people just don't have experience with that. And I was talking to a friend of mine who happens to be a CEO, and he was saying, oh my God, I could name you at least 10 companies where the guy in charge, in this case they were all men, has never had he does not know what to do. They just don't know what to do. They've never had personal experience of it. So I think that's a first kind of observation. Second observation, for those of you that are part of publicly traded companies, the public markets, as we have constructed them, and I think this is a big mistake, but as we have constructed them, they love this. Quarter by quarter, steady results, hit your numbers, predict to the penny what you're going to be making next quarter, right? When we all know a business life cycle is a years-long endeavor. You can't run it quarter to quarter in any sensible way, right? And yet our markets, as we have constructed them, and I can comment on what I think we should be doing to change them if you're interested in that, but as we have constructed them, they reward people for doing this. And in fact, they are even worse. They extract resources from people that are doing this. They don't put resources into innovation and launch, and they absolutely hate erosion. This is why Michael Dell had to take Dell private to do the transformation he needed to do when the PC business for that company had kind of gone out of favor. So I think a couple of things to just remember is we have these, and they're all self-inflicted, we have these barriers that prevent us from being able to manage this kind of complete life cycle. Because in an orderly world, what you'd like to be doing is as these things go into erosion, you'd like to be pulling resources out, right, so that you could fund the next advantage. Right? I mean, that would be, in a just and true world, when capitalism runs right, that's the way you do it, right? And yet, there's so many barriers that get in the way. And that's what I'd like us to sort of unpack this morning and think about how we want to change that or how we would cope with that in our own organizations.